It was a huge and crazy week in news, both here on Guam and in the nation. We finally have a new president, hopefully turning a page on a divided country. And here on Guam, we struggled with a horrific murder in a southern village that thankfully has some resolution. I'm Peter Santos, and here's your TrendSpotting report.
Let's get the most devastating story out of the way first. Guam was shaken to the core when the details came out about the gruesome murder of a 51-year-old man in Santa Rita. On Tuesday, police responded to a southern apartment building where a woman found her husband dead and beheaded in his wheelchair. According to court documents, the woman was with the victim, 51-year-old Andrew Ray Castro, earlier that morning. When she left to work, Castro was with 40-year-old Donovan Ornelas. It didn't take the police too long to find their suspect. In less than 24 hours, Ornelas was picked up for the crime and admitted his actions, including where he left Castro's head. Sadly, police were able to recover it in a Dedito jungle where Ornelas placed it in a burnt-out car. Court documents state Ornelas admitted to using the drug ice inside the apartment before taking a knife to Castro. Ornelas was charged with first-degree murder and aggravated assault. In his magistrate hearing, bail was set at $1 million in cash. This was a difficult and horrific incident for all involved, including the police. And it was difficult for you, too. Josie Ekfaji said, "My deepest and sincerest condolences to the family." Guam Life 671 said, "Drugs and drug-related crimes are taking over our island. Don't do it. Stay away from people who do it." And Jessica Untalon shared, "My cousin didn't deserve to die this way. May he rest in peace. Condolences to my entire Castro familia. We love you, Dung." For those commenting, we as a family don't need to see rude or sarcastic remarks. Thanks. Shifting to the nation's capital, a day ahead of the presidential inauguration, the nation paused for a ceremony remembering the 400,000 Americans lost to COVID-19. It was a solemn candlelit ceremony held at the Lincoln Memorial with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris attending. The moment of mourning was shared across the nation where similar ceremonies were held. On Guam, Governor Lulian Guerrero asked businesses and organizations to have a moment of silence during Guam's COVID memorial. Next to the Laddie of Freedom in Adelup, a bell tolled 128 times during that moment, once for each life on Guam taken by the virus.
At the beginning of this pandemic, FEMA had projected that we could lose as many as 3,000 lives. Knowing this was not an option. We did whatever we could under our authority to protect our island and keep our people safe. But even one death is one too many. And we are here today to remember each person whose life was cut too short because of COVID-19.
And back to the nation's capital, we celebrated the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris is the first woman to become vice president, a milestone on its own, but she's also the first Black and South Asian vice president in U.S. history. The last 4 years under the Trump administration were contentious, to say the least. It was climaxed a week before the inauguration with the violent storming of the Capitol building more than a week ago. At a Save America rally, Trump continued to push the false narrative that the election was stolen and directed his supporters to protest at the Capitol. That prompted thousands of National Guard troops to be deployed to Washington ahead of the inauguration to provide security. And even if we can't vote for our president, Guam sent dozens of National Guard members to assist in the inauguration. Luckily, just a few threatening incidences were discovered and handled, leading to the peaceful transition of power and historic ceremony. Viewer Larissa shared, "Thank y'all for your service. May our Heavenly Father guide y'all and protect y'all along your duties, and to a safe return back home. God bless." And PXP.Enterprise said, "We'll all be waiting on your safe return home." And if we're talking about what's gone viral this week, we're going to have to keep up with the inauguration and a peculiar photo that's caught the nation's attention. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was captured in a curious pose, bundled up in a large heavy coat, sitting socially distant from the crowd, arms crossed and legs crossed, and wearing large mittens. Now, there's nothing really funny about this picture until it took on a life of its own as a meme. Take a look at what Uno magazine shared placing the senator in different island scenes. I mean, Bernie at the Liberation Parade is pretty hilarious, and we asked you to share some of your photos too.
After a wild week in news, we hope you enjoyed ending it with a little bit of silliness. Thanks to everyone who continues to comment on all the videos. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios.